to Global India, a cultural fusion podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lily Padman. We at Global India Podcast have decided to change our direction just a tad bit. We would like to turn this into a discussion forum and give all of our listeners a chance to participate in this new forum. Welcome to a Buzzing Bees session on the pros and cons of social media. Our co-host, Shakira Tarachand, will moderate the session. We are indeed honored to have Saroj Ray and Ranjana Jeevan join us today for a lively discussion. First off, I would like to have all the participants introduce themselves, starting with Shakira Tarachand. Shakira, over to you now.
Thanks, Lily. I'm Shakira Tarachand. I'm a co-host of Global India Podcast. And thanks for all your support as we go forward with our new venture, Buzzing Bees. We look forward to bringing interesting topics and we look forward to your participation. So please contact us via email or WhatsApp. I've been in broadcasting for a long time, started as an RJ with Listener's Choice with All India Radio, then promoted to do interviews with the likes of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, and other icons of industry and the film world. I'm an attorney by profession, worked as a patent attorney in California, then went on to do management in banking and hospitality industry. I became a realtor and I love helping people find their dream homes. I live in Las Vegas with my family, so let's get buzzing. We have Saroj Ray and Ranjana Jeevan, who are going to participate with us on this Buzzing Bee session on social media. So, Saroj, let me start with you. Why don't you introduce yourself and give us a brief view of your take on social media?
Do I introduce myself first?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I've been an army wife for the better part of my life. I was only 21 when we got married and then decided to accompany my husband to all his postings instead of getting a steady job. From my early childhood, I had a plethora of interest, and the army gave me the perfect platform to hone my skills and showcase my talent. So I've lived a absolutely beautiful life doing interiors of messes, doing the guest houses. Every station I went to, we raised the standards of the gardens. There were garden competitions and a trail of wives doing my cakes and puddings. And I painted a lot, so I did a life-size portrait of the then Chief of Army Staff. And that hung in a official mess for over 2 decades. So I haven't regretted not doing a steady job, but I did get a chance when we were in Delhi, and I was invited to join a finishing school. That was a most enriching experience in my life. It was absolutely beautiful. So in 2002, I accompanied my husband here, who founded an international baccalaureate school. And ever since then, we have been here. So Bangalore is home now. Thank you.
Thank you, Saroj. And your take on social media.
Can I make a suggestion, please? Let us have Ranjana now introduce herself, all the introductions first, and then each one tells us what her take is.
Lily and Ranjana speak first. I speak last.
Yeah. Okay. Now we'll have, thank you, Saroj. Now we'll have Ranjana Jeevan tell us a little bit about herself. Ranjana, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Shakira. Thank you, Lily, for hosting this wonderful show. And hi, Saroj.
Hi.
I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. And I also, like Saroj, got married very early on in life. But just before I got married, I started assorting diamonds with a friend and started designing jewelry. That career was quite short-lived because then I got married in the Seychelles. I've done management in Seychelles, in the Seychelles Institute of Management. And I was a director in Delight Foods in Seychelles, which was my home for 27 years. I have made Bangalore my home since the early 2000s. And this city has just grown on me. My children, my son and daughter, found their soulmates here. So I'm a Bangalorean by virtue of associations. I found some wonderful lifelong friends here. And my life has taken on a new meaning, I think, in Bangalore. So yes, that is my introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have Lily, our very own host of Global India podcast, introduce herself and her take on social media.
Thanks, Shakira. Hi, everyone. I am the host of Global India podcast. Thanks for your support. We have been able to sustain this podcast thus far because of you, and we hope to continue our interesting journey with renewed support from all of you. I'm a biostatistician by training, believe it or not, with a PhD in statistics from the University of Chicago. I was associate professor of quantitative methods at the University of Illinois, Chicago, before moving on to the pharmaceutical industry. At the moment, I head up StatLink, a company engaged in applying statistical methods and artificial intelligence techniques to health-related data in order to extract actionable insights and algorithms that can be utilized by anyone who is interested in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Specifically, StatLink, in collaboration with a computing company, a tech company, has developed an app, HealthWiz, for tracking health status and triggering appropriate intervention in terms of diet and exercise. HealthWiz will be launched shortly, and I hope all of you will get to use it to your advantage. That's it for me.
Okay, Lily, thank you. And thank you, ladies, for the introduction. So now, Lily, can you tell us a little bit of your thoughts and take on social media?
Absolutely. Thanks, Shakira. Here is my take on social media. Whether we like it or not, social media are here to stay. With over half the global population using social platforms and the average person spending at least 2 hours scrolling through them every single day, it's obvious that we're heavily dependent on our virtual world and that we are at the point of no return. Social media have given us new ways to come together and stay connected with the world around us. They have also provided us with outlets for self-expression. At the same time, social media have created some new problems, let's face it, which we need to be aware of in order to avoid falling into certain traps. And what are these traps? One, social media promote the spread of disinformation and misinformation and have caused needless chaos and harm to society. A case in point is the January 6, 2020 Capitol riot in Washington, D.C., initiated by thousands of Trump supporters who gathered in Washington, D.C. on January 5th and 6th to support the false claim that the 2020 election had been stolen. Online mayhem surged alarmingly on Facebook, with user reports of false news hitting nearly 40,000 per hour, according to an internal report. Accounts on Facebook-owned Instagram were reported most often for inciting violence. Students who are heavy social media users tend to have lower grades. I can see why. Obviously, they have less time to study and get good grades. In fact, a lot of youngsters are so addicted to their phones, they have a hard time focusing on anything else. Clearly, use of social media results in a huge waste of time as far as I'm concerned. Furthermore, use of social media causes people to spend less time interacting face-to-face with their own family members. Dinner conversations have become somewhat passé these days. Third point, social media can lead to stress and offline relationship problems. Recently, believe it or not, I lost a good friend inadvertently through social media communication and misinterpretation, which is not uncommon. Fourth point, apparently the use of social media is correlated with personality disorders. I'd like to temper that statement a bit. Perhaps overuse of social media is associated with personality disorders. This, of course, falls in line with the general principle of moderation in anything we do, which is well articulated as follows in a Malayalam saying, Amidamayal Amritam Visham. Those who know Sanskrit might be able to follow, and actually it's a similar thing in every South Indian language. Maybe Saroj can tell us what the Hindi translation might be. Translated, it says, excessive use of anything, including nectar, can be toxic. And the fifth and final point, social media facilitates cyberbullying, which has resulted in tragic teen suicides. I think I'll stop my litany of cons here. It is important to be aware of these cons of social media, to address them proactively, and to come up with ways of mitigating the negative effects of social media. That's about it for now.
Oh no, Lily. Why the negativity to social media? It seems to have more positives. It does definitely in everything. It has pros and cons, and there are negatives, and there are people who will abuse it and use it in the wrong way. What you have stated about students is very true, but it has widened borders and it has facilitated sharing of knowledge, and the world has become a smaller place because of social media. So, Ranjana, what do you think?
1 second, let me respond to that though. I agree with you entirely, Shakira, that there are benefits. However, the whole social media frenzy has spiraled out of control and has caused needless damage to society, like the January 6th insurrection. Unless proper controls are put in place, we could see worse outcomes in our lifetime. You're also right about the fact that students could benefit from social media by widening their horizons. Again, without some self-control, students can end up wasting a lot of time on social media. Indeed, one can think of social media as a double-edged sword.
That I agree with you. But I think, I really personally feel that it has enhanced my life, and I am so excited every time there's something new technology. It just makes me very excited because, when we were growing up, life was so different. We were all into just books, and that did allow us to see a wider perspective of things, reading books. But with this technology, it's like you can be literally in that place wherever you want to be, in whatever you're doing. And it's if people use it in a fruitful manner, it can be really good. Like in science, medicine, all the different technologies, yoga, whatever you want to think about, learning about your skin, your hair. I mean, this kind of possibility was not there before.
Absolutely.
So that's the exciting part of it. Mm-hmm. So let's hear what Ranjana has to say.
I'm also being a devil's advocate. I think you need one of those in every debate.
That's true. So let's hear what Ranjana has to say about social media, and then we'll get back to you, Lily.
Okay.
Okay, yes, thank you. I would like to, of course, delve into the pros. Lily has several valid points, but let me first get into the pros. And then, of course, I tend to agree with Lily in a bit of what she says. Let me begin my pros. My first connect with social media was a smartphone, which I accepted quite grudgingly after some bit of coaxing from my hubby, friends, and family alike. I was stuck in the email messaging groove, the email messaging on my PC groove, to message and to communicate with my friends. When I was growing up, I remember the radio, then the black and white TV, then the color TV, All these were evolving technologies, which in the beginning faced resistance. And then there is always some kind of self-regulatory mechanism by which the good things, the benefits, are usually sort of absorbed or taken up by society in general. So in a way, I'm answering you, Lily, but that we are all living in a world where technology is constantly evolving and allowing easier and more affordable access to information by the year. This is a great leveler. I mean that even people who are far less educated than me or who have far less exposure to, say, a wider perspective by means of traveling or communicating with people who are more educated. I'm just saying this in general. They now have access to, they're privy to a lot of information thanks to social media. Because now a mobile phone is so prolific. Now I'll tell you how I feel it's a great leveler. People around me who are less educated, less exposed, I'm only talking about formal education here, know about the ill effects of dumping plastic, the benefits of healthy diets. They know the meaning of segregation of wastes, thanks to affordable social media. We see and the other thing is the gradual creation of visual social media is to quite some extent responsible for a lot of collective influence on the minds of a large swathe of populations. So let me now come back to the platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, to name a few, that have managed to connect people in a way that I could not dream of when I was growing up. Information and awareness of products, brands, lifestyle choices, music genres, journalism can be had at the touch of a smart screen. Yesterday, I was reading a review of a book which normally would not have attracted me, the cover or the name. But because I read a review by someone on social media, a friend on social media, it appealed to me. So I decided to get the book and buy it. I mean, this is the power of social media now. There are lots of negatives, but these negatives are usually mitigated by self-regulatory mechanisms. See, when people put up on social media their viewpoints and they stress on a particular viewpoint, there will be some takers and there will be some disbelievers. And as the point of view of the person who is on social media evolves, or gradually he is able to get through, he automatically, if what he is doing or what he is saying or what his idea is accepted by more people, it will become more credible and he will get that many more followers. Whereas if the idea is not accepted, it will just fizzle out. This is, I think, a very important self-regulatory mechanism of social media. The
That's
other
really
point
great.
I want to make is, now, say for instance, WhatsApp. WhatsApp itself has evolved so much. It used to be just a social forum when I started using it way back in 2014. But now they have graduated to business accounts, where to the extent that small and medium businesses can now create business accounts and have large amounts of followers. Now, these followers, they would surely test the product or the brand or the person who is creating that product. And if the product is good, the product or the brand or the idea or the journalist will get that much more following. And so I think that social media has given access to so many people to have their own, to express their own creative instincts and at a very affordable rate. if, for instance, I see so many nice music videos on social media, YouTube or even Instagram or WhatsApp, and I'm just amazed at the talent that some of these people exude. And this talent can be showcased to so many people. You have instant followings, and if you are good, you can develop on that. In previous decades rather, when we had the radio and the television, this was in a way a form of social media, but then access to it was much less because it was so much more difficult, unaffordable to really get on and showcase your talent. Now, I have a cousin who is hosting, or rather she's created a cooking show. And some of the recipes she's highlighted are from my grandma's times. And, I had actually lost those recipes. Now, watching her on social media, actually demonstrating the recipe, I remember what I had, the food I had in my childhood. And I make the food through her recipes, and of course, through a little bit of what I remember of the taste of all those foods. So what I'm trying to say is that social media is here to stay and will evolve. And maybe, I don't know what the next thing is, but it's a very, very fast evolving and very self-regulatory mechanism.
Yeah.
And the Ranjana, last thing I would like to say, just a minute, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry? No, I wanted to talk about, when you talked about music, there was that peanut wala who sells peanuts, and while he was selling peanuts on the road, he was singing the song.
He's a Bengali guy.
Exactly. And that has gotten to be viral and become very, he got a little bit of fame, but the whole song has been taken over and just played all over. Maybe we'll play that in a session here.
Yeah, you should do that. It's a beautiful song.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's...
Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, there's one last thing I would like to add. Now, when I was a child growing up, my parents have introduced me to a lot of extracurricular classes. I was in a convent school, and they wanted me to learn my mother tongue also, maybe a little more formally, not just speak it, but kind of with the, be able to read some Gujarati and also some Sanskrit. So I joined a class where I learned how to recite Sanskrit shlokas. And since I was a child and always wanting to run out and play with friends, I felt it a kind of imposition. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I really grasped the meaning of quite a bit of what I learned in my Sanskrit class, at least. Now, one phrase I remember is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. When I memorized it, recited it, memorized it, the import of this Sanskrit phrase, I could not grasp. But now, through social media, and of course, through my other experiences, I have really understood the import. It has so much depth. It means that every life, including animal, of course, humans, animals, and plants, have their worth in this world, in this earth. And each of them are so interconnected. If humans, since humans have the intelligence and the power, if humans either overuse, abuse, or underuse any of these resources or any of these this life, then there are bound to be some lasting impacts. I mean, environmental, social. I mean, this is another topic altogether. It could be the subject of another topic altogether.
Yes.
But so what I learned from social media and watching the visual social media is that something that is done in some distant part of the world,
Mhm.
which I think I'm not relating to or doesn't really concern me, ultimately does affect me and
Is a
me, I
universe.
mean the rest of the world. So
Yeah.
nothing is, there's interconnection in everything. That
Yeah, we are not isolated.
I remember when I was a chemistry graduate, I used to be so in awe of the fact that polymers and plastics are being created, and what a lot of uses, multiple uses of polymers and plastics are there. But now we realize that abuse and over dependence on plastics, polymers, has left us in quite a bit of mess.
Yeah.
So this is just one of the things. But
Yeah.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is such a
It's a powerful concept.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And Ranjana, thank you so much. I really love all the points that you brought out, and Vasudhaiva Kudumbagam is definitely something which which is very thought-provoking for me, at least. And because I believe that the universe is totally connected, and social media makes us into and like you said, every action has a reaction, and COVID is a good example of what happened to the world. The plants and the animal world did not get affected by COVID.
Yes.
So it was us
right.
humans who abused. And I think social media brought that out so well in different concepts. I've seen so many WhatsApp and videos and Instagram about this. And it just makes you feel like, we need to stop and think. So the other thing I thought was very thought-provoking was that how the uneducated people gain from recycling, learning about recycling, music awareness, and so on. And it's not like you don't have to be in what do you call it? You don't have to be extremely rich to get this social media. And that is the beauty
I
of
agree
it.
entirely. It's a great leveler. Social media.
Yeah. So everybody has a, approach to it. And today, these little kids, I have, what do you call, my old cook's daughter who's in school, and she's doing really well. And she's communicating with me in WhatsApp. And she is so aware of so many things. I'm just surprised at this little, she's only 10 years old. So that's the amazing part. So now let's move on to Saroj and find out what her take on social media is, and then we can regroup together again.
See, while I agree with all three of you, and we know that any tool or device is as good or as bad as it's meant to be. For instance, a kitchen knife can peel potatoes and also can kill. So if we use or misuse or overuse anything, there's negative fallout. But I'll talk, you were just mentioning about plants. So I wanted to tell you something very interesting. I used to grow orchids, not very successfully. I killed quite a few of them, and I decided not to delve in it. Until one day a friend of mine messaged me and said, there's a webinar happening on orchids and there are 30, 40 people. Would you like to register? And I thought, why not? And this was just at the beginning of the pandemic. And that was a day when I have never looked back after that. In these 2 years, we were a group so absolutely into orchids that the misery around us, not that we weren't aware, each one of us was touched by somebody dying somewhere, somebody you knew, somebody in your family. But this group, we never in 2 years mentioned COVID in this group. It was only, first thing you would open the phone, you would see a beautiful orchid, and the whole day they're discussing how to grow that orchid, how to save it, how to report it, what the media should be. Nobody, not a mention of COVID. a lot many people asked me. They said, you never ever said in these 2 years that you are bored or you want to go out. You don't seem to go out. You seem to be very happy in the house, which I was, just because of these orchids. They meant the world to us. In our waking hours, we were talking about them. In the sleep, we were dreaming of them. So 2 years went past, and this lockdown happened and went away, and we were not affected. None of us were affected. Mentally, I'm talking about.
Lovely,
So
yeah.
they have the power, the plants and the nature. They have the power to, keep you. My father-in-law retired as a very high official. A certain arrogance was there, and he would not mix with the neighbors. And so eventually he died a very lonely life because friends stopped coming, and slowly and gradually was looked after by the servants and the helpers in the family, the house. But as against that, see what social media has done today to a lady we know. She's 84, and her brilliant lady, very nice lady, but all her in her life was she lost her husband. All she wanted to do was wait for every weekends to talk to her children from States, her grandchildren, and that was her high point in her life. So one of my friends introduced her to Bridge Online, and because she was brilliant, she took it to. So she made this Bridge group online. Then with that came the prayer group, and with that came the yoga group. So now the lady dresses up beautifully in morning for the yoga, evening for the bridge, and her children told us that we have to write to her, Mom, is it a good time to talk to you? So she's so busy. So
so much to look forward to.
Yeah, and there is a spring in her, walk, and she's there. She's smiling a lot. She's talking. She's talks a lot. So it's her life has changed, and we want to do that to most of the 80 plus people we know who are single, because we want to go and involve them in our bridge sessions and make groups, make Scrabble groups, so that they are busy. They are busy because we do.
What about Canasta?
And Canasta group, yeah,
Anyway, we are waiting for you.
yeah, and we know that brain is plastic, right? So it can be regenerated, and like any muscle, you can exercise it. And if these people who are in their 80s do that with games on the thing, with groups, therapy, they'll ward away the age-old, this age-related PAD,
Yes.
Parkinson's and Alzheimer and dementia.
Yeah. I heard it does, because it activates your brain
Yeah, it activates
and the
brain.
muscles and keeps you.
So that
That's
is where
very
I
good
see the positive side of social media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
And
you.
I think as a grandparent, you become more interesting to your children and grandchildren also. You become more relevant.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. You have to, right? So
Yes.
thank you, ladies. That was really interesting and really good interactive discussion. So over to you,
Thank you.
Lily.
Thanks, Shakira. And again, my thanks to all of you. It is time to conclude this truly stimulating session. I'd like to thank Shakira for moderating the session in her usual inimitable style. My special thanks to Saroj and Ranjana for accepting our invitation spontaneously and for following up with a brilliant discussion of a hot topic. And of course, I would like to thank our listeners. Hope you have all enjoyed this discussion. We conclude this episode with a beautiful song sung by Lata Ji, the Nightingale of India, whose music we will always cherish.
Thank you for having
Bye
us.
now.